Good evening. We'll get started here. I do have a microphone. If I use my teacher voice, maybe I can reach the back. You guys hear me okay in the back? If I ever get too soft or too quiet, just give me a hand and try to make sure I talk louder. I want to welcome you to McKenna-Harrison, our community meeting discussing redistricting to rebalance. I'm Steve Teeters, superintendent here at DeKalb Central Schools. I want to take a little bit of time to talk a little bit about my history here at the district. Then I want to take some time to introduce members of my team and other individuals that you may have an interest in speaking to before you leave tonight. So, again, my name is Steve, and this is my 25th year in the district. Started as a classroom teacher, social studies teacher, way back 1992 or 3 at the middle school. Taught 7th and 8th grade for about 8 or 9 years. Had the great opportunity to become the assistant principal at DeKalb Middle School for about 8 years after that, until 2009. 2009, had a great opportunity, and Dr. Drake gave me the opportunity to go to Watson Elementary as the principal there for 5 years. Just an outstanding, wonderful experience at Watson Elementary. 5 years at Watson then brought me back to Central Office, where I served as assistant superintendent for 2 years. And then this year, first year, as superintendent of DeKalb Central Schools. So just want to lay out the foundation of kind of my history, my involvement with the district. I hope from my background you can see that I'm fully vested in DeKalb Central Schools. I have 3 children. My wife Tammy lived in Auburn. My 3 children have gone through DeKalb Central Schools from kindergarten up through my youngest is a senior in high school this year. So we're almost there. So we're saying a prayer and crossing our fingers that we can get my youngest through and off to college. So welcome. It's good to have you here, and I'll just say I feel like a broken record because I do see some familiar faces that I've seen at some other meetings, and so this being the 4th meeting, maybe we save the best for last. I feel like I keep repeating myself, but that's kind of the goal, that's the purpose, kind of explain this process, kind of what we're doing, why we're doing, why I'm kind of messing up your world right now. You've got enough going on in your lives and in your children's lives, and so why is this guy doing this to us? And I totally understand that. The 3 previous meetings that we've had have been just outstanding. We've recorded every meeting. The videos are available through the DeKalb Central School District, DeKalbCentral.net. It's also linked to all 4 of the elementary school websites as well. So if you're really bored, you want to watch it again, or you want to go back and watch Country Meadows' presentation, or Waterloo's presentation, or Watson Elementary's presentation that we just had Monday night, you can certainly do that. We separated them with the presentation. That's where I do a lot of the talking. I apologize in advance for that. Just trying to get you the information. Then we have a separate video for the questions and answers, and thoughts, and comments that we received from community members like yourselves. So it's been a great process. It's been, we've been able to get a lot of information from all of you, from your fellow community members, parents, grandparents, other community members, and it is really helping us to shape the final decision that we'll look to make here in a couple months. So if you have a question, or if you have a thought, I would just ask that you kind of wait until the end, and then hopefully when you have the opportunity, you can ask that question or share your thoughts and concerns. We'll make sure everyone can hear what that question or thought is, and then I will do my best to provide to you the information that I have available. And I won't hesitate to tell you if I don't know the answer to a question that you might have, but certainly do our best to make sure that we provide answers. If you don't get an answer tonight, answer will be provided at a future time very soon. All right? So let me introduce other members of our team here in the district, some of which you may be familiar with, and others maybe not. But at the end of the night, you may have the opportunity, if you want to talk to me or talk to one of the members of my team here at DeKalb Central, you'll have the opportunity to do that. So we'll start with proximity here. Mr. Caleb Miner is our principal at Country Meadow Elementary in the Ashley area. Welcome, Mr. Miner. We have Julia Tipton. Julia, former principal here at McKinney Harrison Elementary, so probably some familiar faces there. But now the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at the district level, so she's out of central office with me. We have school board member Heather Krebs here. Heather represents the Auburn area, and Heather's been with us for several of our meetings here for the input, so we do have school board representation here as well. We have Miss Lori Vaughn. She's behind the laptop, and so she's our assistant superintendent, and she took my role when I moved up to superintendent. She took over as assistant superintendent, and we're fortunate to have Lori who comes to DeKalb Central with district level experience from Fremont School. So we are very fortunate to have Lori here with us. She's going to capture kind of all the questions, comments, concerns that you might have at the end of the presentation, where you have that opportunity to kind of share some thoughts or questions that you might have. So we just try to capture all of that in each one of our meetings, so that when we go back and we're able to debrief and we're able to look at everything, we have all the information that we can possibly have. I want to draw attention on the other side of the room here. We have Mrs. Pam Shoemaker. Pam is the principal at J.R. Watson Elementary. We have Wendy Pettis here. She's our Director of Human Resources. She's also out at central office with me. We have Ms. Carrie Alday. Mrs. Carrie Alday is here, principal of McKinney Harrison Elementary. Steve Snyder, also out at central office. He's our Chief Financial Officer. He's our money guy. We have our school board president here, Mr. Bruce Buttermore. He's also here. I think we have 2 board members here tonight. Did I miss someone else coming in? So Heather and Bruce are here. Awesome. And did I get it?
Oh, did you say
that? Got Pam. Yep, we're good there. We do have our middle school and high school principals here as well. Kimberly Pfeiffer, our middle school principal, and Mr. Matt Toad, our high school principal as well. So if you have high school, middle school questions, possibly touch base before you leave. We can just make this a K-12 opportunity here. So hopefully at the end of the night, I don't know how long the line will be to speak with me, but it could be rather long, and I understand that. I'll stick around as long as I need to address anyone that's got a thought or concern or question they want to share. But feel free to talk to any one of our team members, and they will make sure that the discussion or the question you have, that we get that documented so that we can update everything we have. Okay? I do want to thank, I see many familiar faces from past meetings, and I also see some familiar faces of those who have gone online to look at the information that's posted there. And online you can access a feedback form, and so many of you have left feedback. Appreciate all of that feedback. We're collecting it still. And then there's also through the tip line through our online resources, you can leave feedback. And then I've had numerous emails from parents and different meetings with individuals from the time we announced this until today. And I'm sure that will continue for some time. So many different ways for you to be involved, to share concerns or questions. We just want to provide every opportunity that's possible so that you're heard. Okay? And I know at the end of this, some of you may not agree maybe with the decision that is made, but I hope that you can appreciate and respect and understand the process that we took to get to this point. We do have a situation that we have to address as a district, not only presently, but also for future planning. well. As superintendent, I'm obligated to address something that isn't very popular. And trust me when I say I didn't put this on my bucket list for first year superintendent. This is something that you never want to take on as a leader in the district. But when the need arises, you have to rise to that challenge and make it happen. So we're here to work with you. We're here to help you through this process. So let's go ahead and start with the first slide. What we talk about early on is about the purpose or the why behind it. We could go back further, but I think this information probably paints the clearest picture about our enrollment and what we struggled with as a district over the past several years. We were a district above 4,000 students back in 2009. Many of you remember 2009 and the recession and had many issues across the country, across the state. We lost a lot of families. From 2009 until this last fall, we're down 427 students. So unfortunately, I hate to link students with dollars, but the reality of the situation in my position, with our CFO, Mr. Snyder, what we look at, what helps to drive what we do for kids and the teachers we have in the classroom and the academic programming we have for kids is determined by the amount of money that we get for each of the students that we have in enrollment in our district. $6,200 is a general but very accurate figure for what we get per student. We receive that money from the state, as all public schools do, and they're able to budget that money based on the needs of their students. So over time, you can see, as our enrollment has declined, it's been more and more difficult to maintain academic programming and staffing. And I will tell you, from 2009 to 16, I lived through it, many of my colleagues lived through it. We've had a lot of cuts along the way. Every department has had to tighten it up. And we continue to look for ways to tighten our belt. Examples of that, how many of you knew we've got propane buses in our fleet now? They run more efficiently. They don't cost as much to maintain. That's a way that we're looking for ways to try to cut spending. So every 5 years, we're adding 5 propane buses. We're exploring solar energy. What might that look like, and how can we save money in utilities? Because utilities largely, not largely, but a large portion of our utility expenses come out of our general fund. The general fund is where we can make savings in our general fund. We can ensure we have academic programming for students, resources for students, we have staffing, appropriate staffing. I think this is just a good visual to understand the dilemma that we face that's going on. We do hire a demographer, and that's Jerry McGibbon, and you'll see his resources if you go onto the website. You'll see his presentation and his information. His company conducted a demographic study for the district every 5 years. And so the purpose of those studies are to give us some counts of what we can expect for enrollment to do over the next 5 years or 10 years. And every 5 years, he'll come back and tell us how close he is. And for the first time in 2015, he was off, and it benefited us. We had more students than what he projected. So we're hoping, and again, I don't like to hope necessarily, I like to base it on facts and figures. We're hoping that we've reached the trough of that enrollment so that we can start seeing that enrollment pick back up. And it's been a long process to get there. Many schools around the state of Indiana are in that same situation. There's just a few districts around the state that are experiencing massive growth. If you go to Fort Wayne, you look at Carroll, you look at Homestead, those are 2 schools that are growing because of the location and the amount of building that's happening in the northwest and southwest part of the county. You go around Indianapolis and they call them the donut schools. Everything around Indianapolis is growing. The Zionsvilles, the Avons, they have problems, but their problems are because they're increasing the number of students in their districts by 350 students a year. So they can't build schools fast enough. We're like many other schools in the state where we've lost enrollment. We're hoping to see that swing back the other way. So Jerry McGibbon, as our demographer, sharing this information, the board crews to have him come back every 5 years, check to see how close he was on his predictions based on all the different economic factors that exist in our county and in the state. We had him then look at what would redistricting look, how can we create balance in the district. So that's been something that we had him go ahead and explore for us, trying to offset the number of students that we've lost, and then also just the imbalance that it has created in our 4 elementary schools. Many of you are familiar with, we can go to the current district map. Many of you are very familiar with your school, the school that your children attend. You may not be as familiar with the other 3 schools in the district, and that's completely understandable. Our current map, you have one of those maps with you. It's the map that's only one-sided. That's the current district map. The blue representing Country Meadow towards the north, towards the top. The green representing Waterloo. Orange represents Watson. Watson is the smallest in geographical area, but the largest in enrollment. McKinney makes up all the lavender or the purple. So those are the current realities. And I think even with the untrained eye, if you don't study maps, you don't study the flow of traffic, you can see that we have some inefficiencies just in transportation alone that we could address through this type of redistricting process. So it's not a primary reason why we're doing this, but it is an area that we think we can improve some efficiency. I don't have numbers that I can put towards it because it's too fluid at this point. It will depend upon how many inter-district transfers, out-of-district transfers, and where the final boundary lines end. The other maps that you have are maps A, the maps B, that's a 2-sided map. Question I've received, who drew up these maps? Wasn't me, but we did employ Jeremy Gibbon, our demographer, to present to us based on his experience and the years of experience that he's had doing this kind of work for not only our district with our demographic studies, but other districts who have had to redistrict over time, to present to us 2 options to explore or to consider. When meeting with Jerry, we talked about 2 things. We'll go to the next slide here. If we look at just 2 figures, I think it helps to paint a picture as to why we're doing what we're doing. We have 4 elementary schools, 2 large or 2 small. The capacity of those schools are very different. The capacity for McKinney and for Watson are about the same. And when I talk about McKinney, I'm saying after the renovation of the construction project is finished. Roughly the same capacity. Waterloo and Country Meadow essentially have the same capacity. If you want to think of it in terms of the number of sections of classrooms per grade level, think of Country Meadow and Waterloo capable of having 2 sections of each grade level. If you want to think of Watson and McKinney, having the capacity of having 4 sections per grade level. So if you think about the 4 buildings in those terms, I think it will help you to be able to visualize or to see why we're in the position we're in and why we're looking to redistrict. This slideshow is online as well. So if you want to access this, it's also on the district website and the elementary websites as well for you to have access to. The first number, when we talked to Jerry about running some options for us, the first thing we wanted him to consider, these are our current enrollment numbers for the 4 schools. So if you look at those numbers, obviously you can see that there's a discrepancy, even between the big schools and small schools. Obviously, bigger schools, more kids, smaller schools, fewer students. But even within the same capacity school, we've got some discrepancies. One thing to consider Waterloo at 320, almost 100 of those students are the 4-year-old preschool program. So you really have to factor those out. We don't receive state funding for those students. I mentioned $6,200 per student. We don't receive $6,200. This is private funded or through grant funding, through the donors that we have. The James Foundation have been wonderful donors for us to be able to offer that experience to 4-year-olds who otherwise wouldn't have that experience. But it's grown greatly in popularity. Parents call them often asking about preschool and what can they pay to have their child go to preschool. So it's not, we're not out there marketing for students. We really want to capture those kids who otherwise wouldn't have that possibility to go to preschool. But it has become quite popular for parents who have siblings in their schools or children in their schools, and they want their younger children to have that opportunity. So the primary focus for Jerry when he looked at the boundaries was to focus on what can we do to help the balance. As superintendent, we have finite resources. We have a certain amount of money available on the budget to consider what we can do for academic programming, for teachers, for support staff, all the way down the line. So I will tell you, through experience, being here working with my team, working with the elementary principals, when you start to get discrepancies like this, it becomes more and more difficult to adequately spread those resources across the entire district at the elementary. It creates issues that you have to try to overcome. The next slide, or before you go to the next slide here, this second number is our current free poverty rate for each of the schools. As a secondary note for Jerry, I asked him to see if there's anything he could do to get the poverty rate more equalized throughout our 4 elementary schools. Typically, higher poverty rate requires more resources to address students that need interventions for students, which then usually equates to more staff to be able to address those needs. So if you can have balance for socioeconomic status, for poverty rate, you can do things more efficiently across the district as well. Jerry came back to us and said, there's not going to be a whole lot I can do with poverty rate, because there are simply pockets within DeKalb Central schools that basically you come up with some pretty interesting division lines. You have to cut into areas very deep to capture a large group of poverty-stricken students. And so I think if you look at option A and option B, you'll see that most of the boundary lines that are drawn are not drawn taking into account the poverty rate. They're more so taken into account looking at the overall enrollment for each of the schools. And then I'll mention the transportation. You can look at those 2 maps and see that more than likely you can create more efficient transportation routing based on map A or B. And you might even look at it and say, one of the maps looks like it could be even a better map for transportation based on the efficiencies that we could create. So if we can create more efficient uses of transportation, that means fewer routes, that means fewer buses on the road, that means less propane and diesel that we're spending. Again, any funding that we can save there will ultimately help us out in academic programming and staff. Next slide, Gary. Some of you have been to all 4 of my presentations, so if I'm missing something, you can kind of help me along here. So I've discussed briefly some of the purpose or the rationale why we're redistricting. And so I mentioned the more efficient use of our resources amongst our elementary schools. I mentioned the capability, I mentioned 4-year-old preschool, and we do have the capability of expanding our preschool offering. And again, that's been something that's been met with a lot of enthusiasm to some of our parents. The idea that we can expand preschool in our 4 elementary schools. It's been housed at Waterloo Elementary. We have provided busing for those students. For 4-year-old, as some long bus rides. If you look at our map, you can see where Waterloo's located, coming from all corners of our district, to have a 4-year-old on a bus for a long period of time by placing them back in the 4 elementary schools, we create a much shorter transportation time for those kids. Those are some of the reasons why we're putting our preschool into our 4 elementary schools. It provides for a smoother transition from 4-year-old preschool into that same building as well. I've mentioned the more efficient use of transportation resources. By redistricting, it allows the district to grow. Full disclosure, and I've mentioned this at the other meetings, one of the options that we explored before considering redistricting was to close one of our elementary schools. And closing an elementary school is probably something that would be would have even more of an impact on our community than redistricting. But closing an we ultimately decided that closing an elementary school was not feasible. One, it would create capacity issues for the other 3 elementary schools. We simply wouldn't have enough functional capacity room to absorb all the students from one school that would be closed. And then we'd be looking at potentially a building project and no room for growth. So as a district leader, not having options for growth really wasn't an option. And also, closing a school can really, which could be the heartbeat of a community, to take that away, I didn't feel like that was the right course of action based on all the factors that we were considering. One thing I do want to mention that I haven't mentioned up to this point is classroom sizes. Parents and grandparents and community members tend to be more aware of classroom sizes than maybe anything else that I have discussed up to this point. You're probably acutely aware of how many kids are in your son or your daughter's elementary classroom. We do see the potential for creating better balance across the district for our classroom sizes. We have classroom sizes ranging from 18 in some classrooms up to 31. So when we're talking kindergarten through 5th grade, it's a pretty wide discrepancy. If you get on the website and you go to the frequently asked questions, I provided the averages for each grade level across the district. There is a wide gap, even at the grade level, if you look at grade levels across the district. The one grade level where there's only a 3-student difference in classroom size is 5th grade right now. So the opportunity as superintendent to create better classroom balance across the district is something, it's not the reason why we're redistricting, but it could be another potential benefit lending itself to redistricting, if that makes sense. I will tell you, and I'll make this note, and I've tried to be sure to make this comment, and I truly believe this. For our teachers, we are very fortunate that in this community, we have 4 outstanding elementary schools. We really do. We have outstanding support staff in each one of those buildings. We have amazing classroom teachers. And I'm sure if I took the time to stop and ask you to give a testimonial of a great teacher your son or daughter has had in their elementary experience, I'm sure each one of you would share the types of things that happen in your child's classroom. I'm confident in that. I believe that. Whether a teacher has 18 students or 31 students, the teacher makes it happen. Does a teacher with 31 students have to work harder? They probably do. They would probably share that with you. That they do. More students, I got to work hard to make sure that each one of those students are going to grow, that they're going to be where they need to be at the end of the year, because I know I'm handing those kiddos off to the next grade level, and that teacher expects me to hand those kids off grown. So I don't want parents, I don't want community members to sit and think, wow, my kid's in a class of 30, they're not getting the same experiences or exposure or the same opportunities for growth as someone in a class of 18. I can tell you our teachers make it happen. They make it happen. And our data shows that. Whether it's a small classroom, large classroom, they make it happen. Still though, as a district leader, it's tough. It's tough having larger classes. So if I can help to balance that out through this process, I want to look to do that as well. Next slide here. talk about, and we're going to get to interdistrict and out-of-district transfer. That's probably the biggest question that I get, I receive through emails or through phone calls. What's the process going to be for interdistrict? Are you still going to allow students to be, parents to apply for interdistrict, out-of-district transfers? Short answer is yes, we'll get into more details on that. Trying to capture the number of students, or the students that could be affected by this. If we look to do this as early as fall of next school year, fall of this year, fall of 17. Again, we're exploring all options, and really these community meetings have been great because we've been provided some additional thoughts, maybe that we hadn't considered, and because of these meetings, we've been able to listen to some great feedback and take into consideration some of the things that we've been hearing. So we're hoping for the same tonight as well. No expectation. We know we're going to impact each elementary school. We understand that. The goal is to impact as few students as possible, but still gaining what we set out to do. Okay, if that makes sense. So we want to impact as few families as possible, but still gaining. We want to do this one time. We don't want to do this again in 3 years. We don't want to do it again in 2 years. We don't want to do it again in 10. We want to do it one time, get past it, and move on from there, and hopefully allow for a lot of future growth in the district. Gary. So next steps, district maps. Again, we've got some tweaking to do here and there with those district maps. If you get online, there is some higher resolution maps that you can access, and some boundary lines are maybe not exactly where they may end up. So if there are some changes to where the boundary lines are, we'll certainly communicate that out and communicate directly to those families that might impact. All right. So I know we've got some issues to tweak. Again, those maps are a starting point. The finished product is something that is yet to be determined. But it will be some variation of map A, map B, or map B. Taking into account the enrollment process. Every spring we have an online enrollment process. So parents have an opportunity to enroll their child as an interdistrict, and defining those for you. Interdistrict students are students who live within DeKalb Central Schools, but parents, for some reason, want them to attend outside their attendance. So many of you are here tonight because you have those situations. So for example, if on one of the maps, if I'm a Watson parent and my child goes to Watson, but we live in the McKinney district in the past, we would have submitted an interdistrict transfer request after grade. Would have approved it if you're attending outside your attendance zone. So with this redistricting process, everyone, whatever the final version of the map looks like, everyone will have to reapply for interdistrict transfers and out-of-district transfers. And so I wish I had a slide, but we're not there yet. Because again, we're still collecting information and collecting feedback from you. I wish I had a list I could show you of what the priorities will be for interdistrict and out-of-district transfer requests. So things that we hear from parents. We have child care needs. And so you live in the McKinney's district, but you really need to attend Country Meadow because your child care provider lives in the Country Meadow attendance zone. When you enroll your child, it would be online. You fill out the application, it would come to me, and I would either approve that or deny that. I approve or deny based on space in the building. Is there enough room in the grade level that you're requesting? And is your student in good standing? What I mean by that is attendance. If your child is in an interdistrict transfer right now and has had poor attendance because of transportation not being provided, then I may not approve that transfer request because attendance has been an issue. Let's keep the child in their attendance zone where we can provide bus transportation to and from. I should mention things that are considered for interdistrict transfer, special circumstances, and that can be a laundry list of different things that you might be considering right now for why your child needs to attend outside of the zone in which they live. I mentioned child care before. In the information I posted online, grandfathering in students who are fourth grade students this year to finish out their final year in elementary in fifth grade. So those students will be given priority. And again, it will be an interdistrict transfer. And so the transportation may be left to the parent to do that. I've had a lot of questions about from parents. They have a fifth grader next year, but then there's two younger siblings. So where will that end up? Where will that end up on the list of interdistrict transfer requests? I can't answer that right now. We don't have that information. We don't have it prioritized of what that's going to do. Interdistrict transfer requests will be given priority over out-of-district transfer requests. So an out-of-district transfer request are students who do not live within the boundaries of DeKalb Central Schools. We have 48 students in kindergarten through fifth grade who come to us from Gator. Well over 100 students district-wide, K through fifth grade, who come to us from other communities for a lot of different reasons. Could be because mom or dad work in the district, so they bring their children to the school in which they work, district where they work. Could be parents just aren't satisfied with school where they're at, and they want to attend DeKalb Central schools, and we take that as a source of pride. But out-of-district transfer students will not be given priority over intra-district transfer students. One exception to that, I've made it a point to make this statement at each one of the community meetings. I will give preference to staff members' children, people who work for DeKalb Central schools. I will give priority because they do work for the schools. And that's not just teachers and staff members. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's, we have people who put in a lot of time, may not always get paid for that time they put in, especially our classroom teachers. So I just believe that is the right thing to do and something that I'm going to give top priority to in the process. I just want to have full disclosure on that. Someone mentioned from Watson, and I'm sure they're here tonight, but someone asked if there were any openings for different jobs throughout the district. We might really increase our candidate pool. Might do good things for us, right? I haven't mentioned at all. We do keep track of our free reduced lunch students, so that's something that I'm always considering moving forward. Our special ed programs, we do have special ed programs in the elementary. Two that I'll mention, we have an early intervention special ed program in Country Meadow. Those students aren't affected by redistricting. They have IEPs that are governed, that are protected by federal law and Indiana state law. So case conferences are convened for those students, and the decision from that case conference determines where those students are placed. So that's nothing that legally I can trump or supersede. We do also have at Waterloo Elementary, we have kindergarten through fifth grade functional skills classrooms, and those students, same thing, they have IEPs, and those are determined through case conferences that are held. Student transfers, talked a little bit about the interdistrict, out of district. We will share with you when we have that list, that priority list. And so we've added things to our list that we hadn't necessarily thought about, but we felt like it made sense to put on the list. Brandings. We've had parents who have requested certain elementary schools because of the brandings. And so for example, Country Meadow is a leader in me school. And Mr. Miner, you've had several parents submit interdistrict and out-of-district transfer applications because of leader in me. And so we want to continue to provide parents the opportunity of choice based on the branding of the school. Kenny Harrison is partnered with the Reading and Writing Project of Lucy Calkins, Columbia University. So that's something very important that happens here at Kenny Harrison. James R. Watson Elementary School is working towards certification as an international baccalaureate school, something very near and dear to them. And then then also Waterloo Elementary is a project-based learning school, part of the New Tech Network. And when I say tech, it's not technology, it's technique. So each one of our four elementary schools has a different branding or different flavor tied to the school. So parents in the past have been able to request interdistrict or out-of-district transfer requests based on the branding, and that will still be a possibility, but I can't share with you right now where on the list that will end up as a priority. All right. Timelines. Here's what we know. I would love to say, boy, we'll have a decision in February 17th at the next board meeting. Not a possibility. It can't happen that quickly. By March, the March board meeting, we have to make a decision on what we're going to do. We know there's going to be redistricting. By March, we have to make a decision because we start online enrollment for next year, starting the 1st of April. And so if we don't have a decision by March, that puts us in a real bind for enrollment for next school year. So we do have to have a decision made in March for moving forward. And that decision can look like a lot of different things, but as parents, you'll know exactly what's going on. We'll communicate with you, and I will take a proposal to the school board and ask for their approval moving forward. So some people have asked in other meetings, who makes the decision? Well, I guess I take a proposal and I submit it to our school. The transition process, if this is something that begins in fall of 17, we will have a very intense transition process where we know the kids who are going to be affected or impacted. We're going to work with the parents and the students to make sure that they get acclimated to their new school. We'll do trips to the new school. We'll invite parents in, everything we can to make it as smooth as possible, knowing that there's going to be a lot of anxiety, there's going to be a lot of stress involved in that. One way to think about it, all your children will have new teachers next year. Every student goes through a change process with a new classroom teacher the next school year. Some will end up having that new teacher in a different building. I know that probably doesn't help a lot, but thinking about it that way does help, I think, a little bit. I know our kids are resilient too. I know I've had parents come to me and talk to me about special considerations for their child. And I want to hear all of that. I want to know all of that. But I truly believe that kids are pretty resilient. Change is probably harder for us as adults than it is for our kindergartners. Kindergartners are pretty resilient. They bounce back. They'll bounce back. I believe that. We have great buildings, great teachers, and I know everything's going to happen to welcome and make them feel like it's their home away from home. Transportation, then, of course, always something on my mind, how we can run our transportation more efficiently. Okay, I think we're about to the end, where you can look for different resources that we've been talking about. The videos are posted, the slideshows posted, the FAQs will be updating now that we're at our 4th meeting, and we'll have more information. We'll go back and update all the FAQs, and we'll be reporting back out to you guys, whether it's through our one-call system, our parent link system, through school board, through the newspaper, things of that sort. And of course, you can contact me or any member of my team to talk individually or provide any feedback or question that you might have. We'll open it up to you guys now. If you have questions, we'll make sure everyone hears the question, and I'll try my best to provide to you a very succinct and clear response, clear answer. So I'll just open it up. Yes?
What does the monitor say is the root cause of loss of students? What do they say is the Because I mean, we don't think the population is counting for crime. So where are these kids going?
It's a great question. I will tell you that the question was, so everyone hears, what's the reason why we've lost the kids? Right? What's the demographer saying on why we've lost students? When the economy went into the recession, manufacturing, jobs just ceased to exist, people moved. I think that's one cause that could be attributed to it. I just saw a recent figure that we have 110 students living within our district. Parents take advantage of vouchers, and so we may have lost some students to some private or parochial schools. We have an aging population in DeKalb County. If you get online, I think you can access Jerry's demographic study as well, and the information that he shares in those graphs will show you how we've aged as a population. And so the childbearing years have passed a large percentage of our population, and we don't have people moving in at a high enough rate to compensate for that. Projection for, I don't, he has it going up, but I don't want to misspeak. I can find that information. Questions?
Yeah, you had a comment that you have a total of 100 out-of-district transfers roughly right now.
Yeah, in the elementary.
Do you have a number on how many internal transfers that you guys process?
Yeah.
Like with the way that you currently have zones set up now, how many people are following the rules?
Here's what I can comment, here's what I can tell you. On the website is Jerry's, when he proposes option A and B, he provides numbers for you. The current boundary lines have over 100 students who currently live in Watson's district attending McKinney. And there's over 100 that live in McKinney but attend Watson. What I have even, what's that?
Is that even in?
I don't know. It's not even. I think you might have the numbers there for you. What I've discovered through looking at the interdistrict transfers that have been approved, not all have maybe had the approval that was needed before they made the change. If that makes sense. Maybe all don't have approval. And when I checked it for childcare and things of that nature, people may be using addresses that aren't necessarily the child care provider address, if that makes sense. So I wish I could give you an exact number. This process will help to clean up that process because everyone will have to go back through that interdistrict transfer request application process. I don't know if I answered your question. Other questions?
Steve,
Yeah.
I'll address that question because I just pulled it up.
Okay.
Interdistrict transfers between all 4 elementaries are about 200 district-wide.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather. Other questions, Laura?
Yeah, so I have a question about kindergarten roundup and the transition process you're going to take place. Will we be doing this after we know what school our kids are going to go to?
Yes. And that's holds us to a timeline that we have to ensure that the decision is made for fall of 2017 or fall of 2018. So we have to know what the boundaries are so that we can plan for kindergarten.
Can you repeat what that question you said?
Kindergarten roundup, I want to know if we'll know, because I have kindergarten next year, will I know what school she's going to go to before kindergarten roundup, or am I going to show up here hoping this is her school, but she's going to Waterloo?
What you will know, you'll know the boundary lines, so you'll know, and then you'll know whether or not you're putting in for an interdistrict transfer request.
But will I know if it's accepted before roundup starts? That's really the big.
That I can't answer.
How do you know that?
Gotcha. Here's what I know, considering interdistrict transfer requests, there will be a deadline given for interdistrict. Any parent interested in interdistrict transfer requests, and of course, this is after the decision is made on what the boundary lines are. Parents will have till X date, and then when X date hits, those interdistrict transfer requests will be considered for approval or denial based on space available, what the reasoning is. And then after that, it'll be kind of an as-come basis. So I think there has to be a deadline put in for interdistrict transfer requests. And then after that date, it'll be basically as they come in, they will be approved or not. Other questions? Yes, sir.
On the map B, it looks like 7th Street is the northern boundary for Harrison. I was just curious, how does you live on 7th Street?
It's a great question. And actually, Lori and I were just discussing this today, actually. So some of the boundary lines, when you look at them, the boundary line is a road. So maybe on the north side is the Watson district, and on the southern side is McKinney. So is it all Watson, all McKinney? What is typically that road's going to be the dividing line. If it's north, there are Watson, example, there are Watson students, south there are McKinney students. So interdistrict transfer, if you live on the north side of the road and you want to go to McKinney, then it qualifies for an interdistrict transfer request. What I can tell you is transportation probably run on those boundary lines. You're probably running a McKinney bus and a Watson bus. So interdistrict transfer request, parents provide transportation, but there will be some situations like you're presenting, that if we have a bus from the school, and you've been approved for interdistrict, and the bus runs down that road from that school, and we do that now. We do that now. We have parents who have approved interdistrict transfer requests. They transfer their student to the closest bus pickup, and if there's room on that bus, that student will be transported the rest of the way. So that's a great question. It actually just came up today. We were capturing that to make sure that when we do put out the final, here it is, we want parents to know, okay, here's the process if you're on the line. Okay, good question. Other questions? Yes?
I just wondered if there's been any consideration, more currently for the McKinney-Harrison families who are contributing and being such a part of this construction process, that this change, the kids that are so involved in it, parents that have tried to help and raise money for the playground, and a lot of these children aren't even going to be able to participate in the grand opening and the things that are associated with what they've helped with. I didn't know if any of that's been considered.
I look at my team and we're smiling because, not because of that situation, but because we have, that's been a topic of conversation, but so timing isn't great. I'm not sure when timing is great for redistricting, probably never. But I can tell you that not only consideration for McKinney-Harrison families and students who have been so involved in the reconstruction of this building and the playground. I can also share with you other considerations that have been brought to my attention from other families in other zones that are potentially affected. And whether it's 50 students affected or 1 student affected, I really have to look at those through the same colored lens. Again, when the final decision is made, will it be for fall of 17 or fall of 18 or some other? I think no decision has been made. And I hope that resonates well here tonight, that we're really listening to everything that you have to share with us. And then we'll have to go back and consider everything and make a proposal to you. But thank you for your feedback. Yes, I've been thinking about that. Other questions, comments, feedback? Yes?
I had a question. I asked this after about the net impact of the transfers. How many kids are we, what's the net impact? And I know you said you can't tell because of the interdistrict transfers, but how do we know that this is going to be beneficial if we don't know those numbers?
It's impossible to put numbers on things that are fluid based on, I can't get in the minds of each of our parents and know whether or not they're going to submit an interdistrict transfer or if they're going to give a new school a chance. I've had some parents tell me they're excited. There are a few. Disclosure. I've had parents tell me they're excited about going to a new building for whatever reason, maybe they haven't been happy, maybe they had a poor experience. I can't get inside the heads of the parents to know, one, you need to know what the boundary lines are, then you need to wait for the inter-district, out-of-district transfer request. I will have total control over where out-of-district transfer requests take place. The parents will have the option of choosing their first choice, second choice, third choice for an out-of-district transfer. That might even also apply for inter-district transfers. You know, maybe I want to go to McKinney, but if I don't get McKinney, I'm fine going to Watson. Maybe my third choice is Country Meadow, but I can't put a number.
But are you sure that we're going to do all of this? We're not going to end up in the same place we were before we did anything?
Yeah, that'd be bad for me, wouldn't it?
I mean, if we don't know the numbers, that's what it's.
Right.
How do you get
I-
the decision? And the same
If
thing.
I were to provide you numbers, I couldn't stand behind it. But this process will give me control over inter-district, out-of-district. I can tell you that I'm not going to let it get on the balance.
Have you considered looking at just starting with where we are today and going backwards and saying all inter-district and out-of-district transfers have to apply?
Question, and this has come up in other meetings. What if you look at the current map, and what if you just said, everyone must go to the district where they live? Because if you look at the numbers, you can almost see as many kids are leaving one school and going to the next, and it's almost like they're waving to each other as their parents are driving them across the street, across town. And what I would tell you is, I have no certainty that I could stand here and not take into consideration all the special needs, all the special considerations, childcare, the special things that you have going on in your life. I couldn't stand here and say, I'm not going to approve an inter-district transfer because of childcare. I feel like I still need to work with parents on all of those issues. I want parents to be able to choose Country Meadow Elementary because they believe in the 7 habits of highly effective people. They use it in their workplace, and they want their children to experience the same thing they're experiencing. They want to sharpen that saw, right? They want to get at the end of the line. And so I don't want to eliminate that opportunity for choice because quite honestly, I couldn't defend this. We have a lot of people who utilize childcare, whether it's grandparents or a childcare provider that has multiple children or a friend who lives across town. We have a lot of parents who take advantage of that for all the right reasons. And so I'd love to be able to say, everyone just go where you live, right? But it's not reasonable. It's just not reasonable. Other questions? Comments? Yes?
Is the academic level the same?
Say that again.
Is the academic level in each school the same?
So in each of our elementary schools, and all of our schools, middle school, high school, we have Indiana academic standards. Okay? So teachers are acutely aware of the standards that they must teach. Students must learn. Right? Starting from kindergarten all the way up through senior year. And so I can tell you that our academic program is very consistent throughout the 4 elementary schools. Branding puts a different feel or flavor on each of the elementary schools. And parents have found that appealing as part of maybe the choice of maybe wanting to go to one elementary school over another. And I'll be honest with you, when we first started branding, I was at Watson Elementary when we started branding. And so I worked with the staff and we went through a strategic process to determine our branding. We chose the International Baccalaureate, which is inquiry-based learning, it's project-based learning. And we were hoping at that time, even at that time, the imbalance existed. And we were hoping the branding could help by giving parents choice. We were hoping that could help balance the enrollment throughout the elementary. We're starting to see more parents ask about the branding, but 5 years, 6 years into branding, it hasn't paid off that way. Each building is very passionate about the brandings they have, but it hasn't led to mass migration of families and students choosing one elementary over another, just solely for the brand. I think the number's growing, but it's not fast enough or growing enough to impact the balance.
So the NWEA scores at Waterloo are as good as here.
I would tell you that there's fluctuation across all of our buildings. I will tell you that ISTEP fluctuates depending on the building. Historically, Waterloo has had lower ISTEP scores. You can get on the DOE website, compass.doe.in.gov. It's a site we visit often. You can drill down into every elementary school we have, any elementary school you want in the state. And there's no question, a higher poverty does tend to cause additional struggles, especially with standardized testing and things of that nature. But it doesn't take away from the quality of the academic programming there or the quality of the teachers, the buildings. Actually, think of it this way too. Waterloo has 67% free reduced lunch rate, right? And I think Watson's at 39%. So quite a discrepancy in free reduced lunch rate, right? But Watson has far more students in poverty than Waterloo by number. So sometimes it's how you frame it, or how you look at a situation too, that can help inform decisions. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Are districts A and B or proposal A and B equal as to the point of solving or coming up with a solution to the problem? Or then it's just going to be kind of based on community feedback, or is it one better than the other right now as far as fixing the problem?
I don't have one in mind. Again, the fluid nature of the process until one is decided upon. Jerry has come up with these two options as ways to help balance the enrollment. The two X factors are interdistrict and out-of-district transfer requests. Where those students get placed will help determine what ultimately is the final enrollment for each of the four buildings. So standing here right now, I don't have one that looks more favorable than the other. To be honest with you, I wanted to get through these 4 community meetings so we could gather all the information, sit down as a team, and look at, collectively all the information before we move forward. Yes, sir.
Has been considered at all to possibly just use the out-of-district enrollments as a small stepping stone to try that out the first year to see what kind of effect it has in balancing or helping guard this issue? Do you think we should move forward?
Well, regardless, I think I understand what the question was, have you considered just using the out-of-district transfer students to balance the school? I guess just to use the out-of-district transfer students this year, I guess we haven't thought of that. What I think about initially when I hear that is I don't think there's enough out-of-district transfer students to make the total impact and achieve what we want to achieve at the end of the day.
I don't think it totally fix the problem, but it would be a step in the right direction, just for the future feedback.
Explore that further. I guess without looking at it more in depth, I can't commit to anything, but it's a good thought. Yes?
My question is about the kids that are born right now in grade.
Yes.
You had a slide earlier that the kids that would be affected are not rated up. Kids who would be affected like K through 3rd, 4th grade. I mean, will he be able to stay in school even in 5th grade?
Right now, the plan is 4th graders would be grandfathered in to stay at their current school. The reason behind that is the the very next year, they go to the middle school, so another change. So it may require your transportation to get them there. Yes, fourth graders into fifth. Yes.
So now on that, I just want to clarify as well. So I have one that's going into fifth grade.
Okay.
This year transfer. And I also have one in kindergarten now.
Okay.
So what I'm understanding is potentially have to go to different schools.
The short answer is yes. I will tell you that the students who are grandfathered are fourth graders going into fifth grade. On that priority list I mentioned earlier, which we don't have hammered out yet, we honestly don't. Somewhere on there will exist siblings of those students' grandfathers. So I won't tell you it won't be approved, but I can't tell you if it will be approved. Again, it will depend on class sizes, space available. But yes, I think you get it. Yes.
I think you said this at Waterloo, but can you remind me, every year I'll have to resubmit for their district?
No, you're going to do
Once
this.
they're kind of in
You're going to
there,
do this
and
one
it's all
time.
gets seen.
I want you one time.
Okay.
There's an attendance issue with an interdistrict transfer. We're out of district. The state holds us accountable for 95% attendance, so we really expect the same. If there's attendance issues, someone's missed 30, 40 days, we might consider, well, how does that happen? It happens. We'll have a conversation in that interdistrict transfer request. Yes?
Would out-of-district transfers be the same, or would they have to reapply every year?
As long as you stay within good standing, I would see no reason why you would reapply. You would update the information through the online enrollment process like we do. We've done every year for the last 3 years. We've had online enrollment. Other questions? I do want to encourage you. We have a lot of staff here from the district, and so if you want to speak to someone individually, please take the time to do that. If you want to email me, or give me a call, I've got my card I can give you so you can access my information and follow up with me at another time. Any other questions, comments? If it were, the question was, has the district done any scenarios of running maps A and B on what the cost savings would be for transportation? Answer is no. If it were the primary reason why we were doing it, we would have. We will take a closer look at it once we get down to making a decision between A and B. Yes?
If there was no 420 kid shortage from the economic downturn in 2009, would you still be thinking that you're would be in the same boat having to district?
That's good. So if we hadn't lost 427 students from 2009 until fall of 16, that number represents K-12. I would tell you that redistricting might have had to happen sooner than this. But I don't always think. Yes, sir.
I just have a comment. You talked, you mentioned before about some of these communities, the school being kind of the heartbeat of the community. And I think it's important that kids that live in the neighborhood, walking distance, where they can ride their bike there, and it's part of the fabric of where they live. I don't think that children should have to be tossed out of the immediate neighborhood of one of the schools to a different school. So I don't know how big of an area that is, 10-block circle or something like it was before, or continue going up to North Street or what. But like where we live on 7th Street, for instance, we can walk to the school in about 5 minutes, and the kids are bike riding age. They can go to the library, they can go to the playground, and I think think that, you know, I understand the need I understand the need for redistricting, but I think that, you know, literally taking kids out of a community and sending them to another is something that we should try to avoid.
I appreciate those comments. I don't know how to respond to that, other than I know looking at map A or B, you have scenarios where students may not be attending schools where they were before closer.
Right.
I understand what you're
Schools
saying.
need to
So interdistrict transfer requests could help address that. Because whether you're transporting them or they're riding their bike when it's nice out or walking, it could be something that could be improved. Other questions, comments? Yes?
A grandmother, fourth graders, these don't have to turn in interdistrict.
Yeah. You'll online, it'll pop up and you'll complete that form. And I will tell you, those will be on the priority list. They will get to stay in the school that they're currently attending. Yes, sir.
Okay, with all these maps and numbers, you're saying fourth graders stay in school right now. How many kids should be moving to a different school that we're going to let them stay in school right? I mean, your interdistrict numbers should be huge compared to what they are now. For 1 year.
I don't know if they will be or not when you're considering just one grade level. When you look at maps A and B, and you obviously when the lines get redrawn, certain students that are currently interdistrict transfer students will no longer be interdistrict transfer students because now they live in the district where they currently attend, and vice versa. So that's kind of across all four of the attendance zones. And again, very fluid because I can't read the minds of parents and those who will want to stay and go apply for interdistrict. That's yet to be seen. Other questions? Thank you for your time. I appreciate